Hi, my name is Isla Long, and in this session, I'm going to explain to you how the Lord worked in my life to get me to do a series of videos. In spring of 2015, I was questioning some stuff about the church, and the Lord led me to a book that I had studied back in the 1990s, a workbook called Experiencing God, Knowing and Doing the Will of God. And as I looked in it, I saw how God calls the church to holiness, that He is pure and holy, and He wants His church to be pure and holy. Thing is, church is made up of sinners. We're forgiven sinners, but we're still sinners. We have that sin tendency, and it's so easy to fall back into the ways of the world. But God doesn't want us to do that. He wants us to be holy. He wants us to know His Word and to walk in His Word. And then I thought of it maybe a little bit through the summer, but in the fall of 2015, the Lord told me that He wanted me to get my book out, because I had just a regular book of Experiencing God, and He wanted me to read it a chapter a day. And He began to work in me as I read it, and I began to question, Lord, how in the world, how do we listen to You as a church? It's so hard, even as an individual sometimes, to know if it's really You talking to us, and then to be obedient and step out and to do it. But how do you get a whole church to do that? And He spoke to me and said, this is the way. And I believe He meant that by the book. And then He started giving me different ideas. And so I took those ideas to our Friday Harvest Prayer Group that we had to get discernment, see if this was even possible. And what He wanted us to do was, He wanted me to buy books, and He wanted us to do a study, a church-wide study in the book. And Pastor Bruce agreed to do that in the spring of 16, he would call the whole church into doing a study in this book, and we would distribute it within our small groups. And the Lord even told me to give it to church-wide, and even the people that are out on the fringes. So we were planning on doing that. The next day, I'm spending quiet time with the Lord, and He said, I not only want you to distribute it within the church, but I want you to give it to the people that come into the meal program. And it's like, oh my goodness, Lord, I don't even know what you're talking about, because we have over 1,000 names on our registration. Not that they all come, but that's how many we have. So how many books are you telling me to order? And He said 1,000. I said, what? Am I hearing you right? 1,000 books? And He said, yes. So we proceeded and ordered 1,000 books. And we began the study. But not only was He telling me to order the books, He also was telling me that I needed to do a video of the past 44 years that I've been listening to Him and experiencing Him. And that's way out of my comfort zone. I don't like having my picture taken. I don't like speaking before a camera. And so it was very, very difficult for me. But that's how this came about. As far as the book, we ordered the 1,000 books, and they've been distributed several different places. I know a group out in the western part of Michigan did a men's study, and then they also later went into a correctional facility using the book and teaching the principles of Dr. Blackaby in that place. Church in our area, our community, got the book, and the pastor preached on experiencing God, handed the book out to their parishioners. I passed some books out to pastor friends I had within our denominational classes. So some of those books are in Cleveland, in Columbus, in Kentucky. One of our churches in Cleveland did a men's study with it. There are some in the Philippines. I went to Philippines with my son not too long ago, and we took some of the Experiencing God books, and they liked it so well that when he went back a while later, he took some more books. So we have several books in the Philippines. So where they're all at, I don't know. And the Lord even laid on my heart, because we used all 1,000, he laid on my heart to purchase another 200. And about half of those have been distributed. I think we have like 108 or something like that still at the church. So the book has gone far and it's gone wide. And I'm not a rich person. I'm not a rich person, but God knows that what I have is his, to use the way he wants it used. And this is how he wanted it used. So I have to believe, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that he has a purpose, he has a reason for the purchase of those books, for the distribution of those books, and that he has a message for his church. And he's saying, church, get ready. I'm doing big things, and I want to use you. So know where I'm at work, and reach out and do what I'm telling you to do, so that I can accomplish my purposes in you. So I say, church, let's get on board. Let's listen. Let's listen to God. He knows what he wants to do, where and how he wants to do it. Oh my goodness, I'm going to share with you one more story. And that's back in the 1970s, late 1970s, when my church was struggling. And I was, again, before the Lord in the sanctuary alone, and I was just praying and asking for forgiveness, because we had excused ourselves because there were a lot of trucking companies and things around our church, and we can't reach the community, there's no one to reach. Well, there was a whole housing district behind us, and we hadn't reached them. We just didn't know how to reach them. And so I was praying and asking for forgiveness, and I wish I could share the whole story with you. I haven't got time, but God is so cool. And he's so awesome. And I literally watched him develop a clothing and food ministry to the community. We had no money. We couldn't even afford to pay our pastor. But this clothing ministry that he developed was self-supporting, and didn't bring people flocking to the church, but it did touch people. It touched hearts and lives, and people used to come just so they could sit and talk and share. And we sent our newsletter out to them, which had poems and just things that might touch their lives. And that ministry continued even when we had to close our doors, and we merged with Grace, because Grace didn't have room for the ministry. The church that bought our church said that they would continue it as long as we sent people to work it. And I knew God wasn't ready to let go of it yet, so we did that, and we did it for maybe a year or so, until God let us know that he was done with the program, and let the people from the Full Gospel Church that bought ours know that he was done, and they won their building back. So my point in sharing that story is, God knows where we're at, church. And he is God. He can do anything. And he can do it with nothing. And he definitely can do it with willing people. So I just encourage not only Grace Church, we're looking for God's vision for us, but for the church in general. Find out where God's at work and how he wants to use you, and join him in that work. Thank you so much for joining me.